folks. My name is Alex Sproul. I'm chairperson of Ballymun Active Disability Interest Group, otherwise known as BADIG. And we just want to show you some information about our work, our history, and other events around the area of Ballymun. BADIG was formed in 1998. It was launched in the Regency Hotel by means of an event called Shifting the Blame, and many people from the disability area attended. But BADIG was formed, it was a brainchild of a remarkable lady from Ballymun here, the late Kathleen Marr, and she worked in the Women's Resource Centre in Ballymun. And they took on 2 wheelchair users, and so they got involved to a certain degree in disability affairs. And with the impending oncoming of the Ballymun regeneration, which was announced at the time, it was felt that there should be an input into the regeneration programme to help people with disabilities who are living in the area. And so BADIG was formed.
My name is Claire Whelan. I'm living in Ballymun for many years. I came here as a teenager, so I'm a long time in Ballymun and I've seen a lot of changes. So I first heard of BADIG as I was trying to cross a road with my white cane. I now have a guide dog, which is much more easier, but when I was using the white cane, it was a struggle the whole time. I heard this voice shouting, dear, hello, can I help you? And it was Daphne and Alex. They helped me across the road, and they told me all about BADIG. BADIG has taught me that speak up for yourself. Speak if you have a problem. Don't be waiting on somebody else to do it. Like, I couldn't even go on to tell you how much BADIG has done for accessibility and for people with disabilities.
I suppose the initial success we did have was in 1999 when the ramp was put in, the wheelchair ramp was put in at the AIB Bank. Before that it had only been accessed by steps, and so that was a success we had. But that wasn't the only one. We had to go on battling away to get issues considered and brought in.
Ballymun on the north side of Dublin. A local disability interest group is keeping a track on the local bus service. They're checking to see if buses adapted for disabled access are actually running on the schedule as promised.
One of the big problems we had in the time of the regeneration, of course, was the breaking up of the footpaths. Roads were altered, and it was extremely difficult at times. One of our members, actually, she came out of her home one day. She has a manual wheelchair, and she found that the road, the way she went from her house to come into Ballymun, had been completely blocked, and the route had been replaced by a tarmac path, which was up over a hill, which was impossible for her to push the wheelchair up the hill. And so she had to get on to the people involved, and they had to go and do another route, which if they had consulted in the first place, they wouldn't have had the problem. But that was only one indication. There were also other places where the footpaths were broken up and there was rubble and all sorts of stuff around the place, preventing people from getting around and making it life very difficult for people with disabilities.
Just what did you find difficult making your way around there?
Gravel and stuff in the cars coming, and apparently everything. We had to go right around to get to a different block. If we wanted to go over there now, how are we going to get over there?
There are still issues with regard to paving, footpaths, lack of dishing in certain places for wheelchairs, for giving them access from one side of the road to the other. Our problems, of course, as well with people with visual impairments, things like bins left out well, bins have to be collected, but when they're left out on the footpath, and then when they're empty, they're just thrown there, and people with visual impairments have problems walking into them. It's not very good for them, and there are certain other problems like that, which people relatively unused to dealing with people with disabilities just don't think of the problems that they can cause and do cause.
Hi, my name is Lana. I'm a fashion model and local resident. I never planned to join BADIG. I attended one of their coffee afternoons last year. The reason I went there was that I couldn't get to my house. Somebody just parked the car just in front of my gate. I haven't been disabled for very long, so I can understand the life from both sides. I also refuse my disabilities to stop me from doing what I want and lead normal life. I bring that energy to my work with BADIG.
Today we have problems, different problems, mainly with cars parking on the footpath. Now this is one of the big problems with people with wheelchairs, also people with buggies, children with buggies, and elderly people with using mobility scooters and things like that, because they, in very many cases, they have to get off the footpath and go out onto the road, which is extremely dangerous, where cars are parked blocking the footpath. And surprisingly enough, in many of these cases, people are parking outside their houses when they actually have driveways and won't drive into them. They just park the car on the footpath and causing problems for people using the path. Another aspect is, of course, people parking in disability designated parking spots where you're supposed to have a permit to park on, and many people will just park there without having a permit. Recently the fine for doing that, of course, has gone up to €150. So it's not a very lucrative behaviour to get involved in. So beware, be warned. We're not here to give out to anybody, but it's just that's something to keep in mind if you're a driver and you're rushing into a shop or somewhere to get the paper. But it could cost you $150 if you're caught in a disability spot without a permit. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. We want to make people aware of the needs and the requirements for people with disabilities. And it's just a matter of giving people information and hoping you'll take more of an interest in what's happening around and the needs of people in the area and other places who are disabled. Thank you.